As farmers, you may have heard of the terms of Scope 3 emissions or supply chain emissions and wondered what it has to do with you. When we think about these scopes, they're really just looking at boundaries of how emissions are captured. So within a business, Scope 1 are the emissions associated with everything that happens within that business. So as a farmer, your Scope 1 is everything associated with growing your grain or other commodities. As a farmer, your Scope 3 are all the embedded emissions associated with the products that come onto farm. A key part of these are nitrogen fertiliser and our crop protection chemicals. In particular, nitrogen's a big deal because the manufacture of nitrogen fertiliser has a really high emission footprint. And so when we bring that fertiliser on farm, that has a significant contribution towards that on-farm emission footprint. Then if we look at the supply chain, where that grain moves into, if we think about a food manufacturing business, all the emissions associated with the manufacturing of that food is that company's Scope 1 emissions. Their Scope 3 then is everything that comes into that factory. So if they're purchasing grain, they're purchasing with that the embedded emissions from the manufacture of chemicals and fertiliser, the production of that grain on farm, the transport and the processing of that grain, and then moving that into their factories. So you can see that for most food and beverage companies, their Scope 3 emission footprint is a significant part of their total emissions. And so when these companies are looking at opportunities to reduce their full emission footprint, if most of those emissions are coming from prior to their factories, and most of those emissions are coming from the farms that are producing those commodities, it makes sense that any benefit and any emission reductions we can make on farm not just have benefit to farmers, but then have a really important flow-on benefit all through the supply chain.